Hi everybody, my name's Lisa and I am the owner and artist at Sweet and Sassy Treasures in Shelby Township, Michigan. So this is my very first Sid Dickens inspired wall tile. So we are going to get started. We are going to end up here. This is the tile that I already have prepared, and I'm going to show you how we get to this step. This is our Sid Dickens inspired tile for today. So it's going to be the second one in my gallery wall. I plan on making like a dozen. And this is going to be cooler. I'm going to cool that other one down. What I'm going to do right now is show you how we're going to get from that blank piece of wood, this blank piece of wood, to this, to the finished product. That's what we're going to do today. So I'm going to show you how I got to this point, and then we're going to finish from there. So because of time, I took one of the 5x7 gallery walls, blanks, and I just put a coat of paint on it. That's all I've done, just to cover up that raw wood. Now what we're going to do is I take a credit card type scraper, and I use texture medium, embossing medium. If you want to know specific products that I use, you can ask in comments and I can answer after. I'm happy to share those with you. So the first thing that I want to do, if we go back to this one, if you look at this background, if we just went and build our design on top of the painted surface, we wouldn't get that concrete-like look. So I want to show you how I got that concrete type look. We're going to take and we're going to skim coat the embossing medium over the top of the wood blank. So I've just got my embossing medium here on my card, and I'm just going to skim a layer of it on my board. And I don't want to go in any particular direction, and I also don't want it to be even and smooth. I want it to be uneven and for you to see almost like trowel lines in it. So I like it just like that. So I just need to get some crust on here. Normally, you guys, you would let this sit like for, I don't know, overnight for a couple of hours. But we don't have that luxury in Alive. Okay, I think we're going to be okay. We know that this is not going to be perfect. So any questions you have on what I'm using, I can answer in comments after. So that was embossing medium. Now I know when I do this Harlequin pattern, this is what I'm doing next. I already put that skim coat down. We're adding this top part now. And I'll explain how I laid that out. But I want it to be elevated so that I can go in. I'm actually going to go in and paint that. I'm going to gently hold this. Again, this is, just my sample. And now what this is doing is I'm elevating where the Harlequin pattern is. And I'd like those to be, a little crusty, a little uneven. Nothing perfect. But now I'm going to lift that up. I'm not going to worry that it's sticking in some spots because it's no big deal. I'm using this rope. I sell more trimmings too than I do trimmings one. Not a lot more, but more, and I think it's because of this rope element. So that's the one that I'm using today. I figured you will get to see me do a couple of molds, but that's probably not the main focus of this. So I already went ahead and I made some of the elements that we're going to need today. So here is the rope from Trimmings 2. I'm going to use Tight Bond Quick and Thick, and I'm going to put that right on the back of my mold element. And I'm not doing it on my work surface because you guys know that that's still really tacky. And I use my finger to spread the glue because I want to get the glue all on those edges. It makes it adhere to my project better. So as the clay dries, it shrinks a little bit and it can pull up those edges. So I actually take my finger and smear it. So now I'm going to put this over here, and that will give me my border. But I'm using classic elements today, and specifically this piece of classic elements. So I'm building mostly from that, is what I'm using. So I've got that. I've got it already done. So I've already made this piece, and I'm going to show you what I'm going to do with this. So I want it to go, I don't want it centered. So I'm gonna cut it right like that. So I'm gonna leave that there, and I'm just gonna take and I'm gonna cut that edge. Just cut that right off. I'm also going to just trim that piece. So I do really like this. So that's how to make your base. Now I'd let that dry overnight. Fast forward, that's what I did. I let it dry overnight, and this is where we're at. So you can see mine is a lot more detailed. So I did a lot more on the bottom. I'm trying to center my camera angle here. So this entire board is getting painted in a soft white. And that's going to help me build onto the look that I want. So now I'm going to dry this, and then I'm going to seal it, and I'll share with you why. So I'm sealing it so that I can wipe back without having smears, and instead on those high points, I want to be able to get down to that off-white paint. This bottom part is going to look rusty. So off-white paint, sealer, and guess what? We have to dry again. Put that in there. When you force dry, you have to dry, but you have to let it cool too. Warm sealer is not a whole lot better than wet sealer. All right, you guys, this is the super fun part. I'm going to spin this around. I'm going to take my diamond pattern back that hopefully, normally I would wash this off, but I'm just hoping that the crust has dried. I am using black paint right now. That's what I'm doing. Black clay-based paint. And this is a softer black. Sure it is. Let me see if I can get the top off. That might be the easier way. And what I'm going to do, maybe I can get the bottom off. Good thing you got, oh yeah, I can get the bottom off. Can't see me struggling with this. So I'm going to use an artist type brush. So picky about what brushes I like. So I'm going to lay the stencil back over my diamond patterns, and I'm going to paint them black. Now that's going to be tricky with near that mold. So I'm just going over, and I'm painting, I'm not stenciling. And you can line that stencil right up with those raised portions. So it's pretty easy to do. And because I have the sealer on here, it's really easy to wipe off too. Suzanne, can I get a time, honey? All right, these are going to be a little bit trickier. I may have to take a fine brush and get closer because it's really important to me that these shapes come to a point down here. Because I sealed, this black paint isn't going to be super intense. You know, I can touch it up if I'm not happy with that. Set that aside. I need to take a fine brush, which of course I don't have one sitting here. This one should work though. And I want those points in this part right here. And the reason I couldn't get close enough was because of that border. Not worried about if I painted outside the lines a little bit. Donna, I can give you that information after we're done. Okay, I am going to just go in and blacken up some of these centers just a little bit. So you've got to remember, this is like, it's a wall tile. So I don't want my paint perfect. So I'm just going in and going like a couple of different directions even. I'll wipe that off. I'm not worried about that. I'd be more careful if I wasn't live, but the character in there is going to work for me. So I've got that done. I promise, 100%, I will answer all of your questions. So I need that to dry, and I'm going to wipe around that a little bit. This bottom part, I'm going to take, I want it to be warm. I want it to look like rusted elements. Did I seal that? I did seal that. I am using a brown glaze. Oh, Michelle, I've always wanted to. Why not stencil instead of paint? It's whatever you want to do, Sarah. This is just the way that I like to do it. And the stencil, probably saves a little bit of time. I'm going to have to go back in with the brush and clean that up. So now I'm going to take and I got to see what kind of brush I want. Maybe I'll use this one. I'm going to use a glaze. Let me, don't necessarily want. I got to dry just this bottom part right here. I'm going to clean that up. I'm trying to let my dry time work for me. I do want some of the antiquing to go on this side, but I want to be able to control it. So I'm just going to gently set a piece of tape there. So I do want to be able to control that. Can anyone pretty please give me a time? Could you paint pattern first, then apply molds? Absolutely. But it's working with the dry time because what am I thinking? I don't know what I'm thinking. I lost my train of thought. I'm sorry. So sorry. And I didn't want the Harlequin pattern in the bottom piece. So there are so many different ways, of course, that you can do the same thing that I did. This is my first time doing this design. After you do something the first time, of course, you always think of different ways to save time. My first tile, the colors are too warm for me, so I need to go in and cool those off. I think I'm going to like these colors better, but that's how we learn. So this is to get a rustish, antique look. I want to make sure you could use wax. This is just what I want to use. It's a glaze. Just trying to get it everywhere, and I will worry about the sides of this board at another date. 10:43. Thank you so much, Leanne. So I am going to want some antiquing in that top, but like I said, I'm going to want to control it. And so that's why I've got the tape there. For this part, brushes are going to be your friend. They will help get things out of spaces or blend in spaces where you've got too much. So while the glaze is sitting on there, I'm going to take my baby wipe and I'm going to start wiping back. Now, my sealer has not had time to fully cure. So part of what you're seeing is it's pulling off the sealer too. But it gives it that, in my opinion, that stone look, which is something that I really love. So I'm pulling the detail off the high points. So I'm trying to get that tavertine, or I don't know my flowers, I don't know my stones. So it's a combination of the sealer working and the glaze working right now. And I don't want those crevices to look too solid. A little bit more. Took a little bit too much off the bottom there. A little too much off there. So, and that's another thing, when you wipe it off and put it back on, you get differences in depth, which I think are really cool. So I don't know how much more I'm going to mess around with this on camera, because you get the idea. But I would hold it up and kind of step back and see what I loved. Okay, I'm going to pull that back. Now we're going to look at what we're going to do up here. So I've got another baby wipe. Thank you. I'm really liking it. And I would go back and forth up there with a brush and a baby wipe to get the look that I want. So I have all this texture, and I probably will wax this. So see how I can pull off so that Harlequin doesn't look so purposeful. And that's what the sealer allowed me to accomplish. I love the way it's coming out. Thank you, Deborah. So I'm just kind of wiping. You know, you don't want it to look like something that you just made. I can see where, like, using clay and making a large Harlequin pattern would be cool. But I knew I wanted that black to come off the edge, and you can see how it's smearing. I'll get that to work for me and blend all together. But if I didn't seal before I added the black, I'd have a really big mess. I'd never be able to totally get it off where I want it to come off. So to avoid, let's see, if goes this brush. I just need some water. That water's not clean, but we'll see. Get in there. So if you didn't want that black to be doing that, you also could paint over it, right? And get rid of that altogether. 1050. Thank you, Leanne. But it's doing exactly what I wanted it to do. When I go in with wax, it will help warm that up a little bit. And I can go in and clean that up. I'm just going to take a little bit of that aging just show you how I'm going to get that all to blend together. I might decide to go over that whole top with that glaze. I definitely will feather it in down there. But I think you get the idea. So this is Sid Dickens tile, Sid Dickens inspired tile number 2. So I am really happy with it. So this is Classic Elements, Trimmings 1. I can give you the information to all of this. I'll post it in the links.